And then I just want to welcome you all to today's Honesty Salon. And I would like to start out with the people who did do the homework buddy thing, say a little bit about what actually got done during that. Just to give us a report, to give us a sense of whether that's useful or not. And then following on that, because it was one of the questions that I listed as a possible debriefing question, was, is there anything, I didn't say it quite this way, but I'm going to say it this way today, and I'm going to allow everybody to weigh in on this if it's relevant. If it's not, we'll allow you to weigh in on something else. The question, is there anything unfinished for you from last time? Or second part of that is there anything that you did or said or didn't do or say that you'd like to revise, as in the revising true skill in the book Getting Real? Like, if I had it to do over, I would have asked for what I wanted, for example. And I would have said da, 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 the exact words I would have used to ask for what I want. So I want to practice that skill as a warm-up today, but only if it's relevant. I'll give you something else to check in on if it's not. And we're going to use these same, which we didn't use last time, but I'm going to get to these today. These sentence stems, which I have as a screen share if we need to look at them. The sentence stems, like right now, I'm aware of, that sort of thing. But let's hear about how the homework buddies went. So we had Orv and Lynn and Robert and Darlene. So who wants to start?
I'm happy to start, Susan.
All right, please do.
My buddy is Lynn, and we spoke the day after our session, Friday. It was quite helpful because the experience and the feelings were still fresh as memories. And I explored with her the questions that we had written, and it's particularly one of the topics that we were exchanging feelings and impact. And she said something, and I noticed a big release of tension from my stomach. And then I asked Lynn, and she had similar experience. And then we covered some of the things on her side of the experience as well. For me, particularly exploring the questions, what I would have asked differently, that was quite helpful. I don't remember what I said then, but I did feel complete after I thought about what I would have asked or said done differently. Yeah, I just like to state that for now, and then maybe pass it to Lynn if she'd like, or give it back.
Sounds
Sure.
good.
So I also found it very helpful. And in fact, I haven't really thought about it much until you asked, Susan. You know, like there isn't anything that has been on my mind, which is a sign that I've let it go and that I'm not really thinking about it. And as I'm reflecting back on having the study buddy, one of the things that really struck me was just the way that the back and forth that we went through to find a time. And like we had a little bit of a misunderstanding about how much time we were going to talk. Part of that was because we were part of the time we were communicating via text. And so I was reflecting on that now. I'm just struck by how easy it is to misunderstand each other. And so that was good for me.
Just want to comment, hearing what both you, Orv, and you, Lynn, said about the homework. I'm thinking to myself, well, it probably wasn't the best question to ask this group, like what's left over from last time, because you got it complete on your call. So thanks for letting me know that. It's always still an option for people. to say if I had something to do over and to bring that up. But I think I might use based on what you've said, I think I might use a little different warm-up question for us today. So let's go to Darlene and Robert.
Okay, I'll start. We didn't follow the questions very much. We mostly spent time talking to each other, and maybe we got to know each other a little better. We got a little bit to the questions. I had some things that I have something that I wish I had done differently in the last. Can I share that now?
Yeah, please.
And I'm feeling my heart's a little beating fast, and I'm feeling and so I wish I had asked particularly or for clarification of like what was meant, or like maybe just a kind of a clarification. Is this what you're telling yourself, or is this what you're telling me? You know, kind of, instead of just assuming that this was just telling me who I am, which wasn't necessarily the case. So I might have done that had I had the wherewithal. And I enjoyed my time with Darlene, and we just didn't do a lot of the questions. We just didn't. So.
Okay, your turn, Darlene.
Yeah, my time with Robert was really, I felt really safe with him, and I said things that felt uncomfortable, and I noticed myself being like, tell me quickly that what I said was okay. But he was always, yeah, responsive, and it just felt safe. So it was a great continuation of the container I felt with you, Susan. And the thing that I wish I would have done differently is use these sentence stems. Like, I know I've not been doing that, and I've noticed that even when I came to the workshop, that people that had taken previous things, like they knew the lingo or whatever, and I know that it also really helps to create safe space to use the sentence stems, and that's part of the reason why I'm even here in the first place. So, yeah.
All right. And I want to invite Heidi. Whatever's up for you right now, Heidi, to speak into the space, whether it has to do with, you know, how it felt listening to these other people, or wondering if you were going to be left out. Those are some of my thoughts when I think about, yeah, you don't have a homework buddy. So, or debriefing buddy is what we call it here. So just anything you want to share, I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, definitely there are feelings of feeling left out because I don't have a debriefing buddy. I think the biggest feeling right now that I'm feeling, or self-talk actually, that I hear is fear around, this is my first time doing an honesty salon. I fear that I don't know the right lingo, fear that I'm not saying the right things. I feel really self-conscious and sheepish about last session. And those are the feelings I have. The self-talk is, I don't belong here because I feel like I misunderstood the intent of this group or the format of this group.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of nervousness and fear around judgment, I think. That, yeah, I'm not doing it correctly.
Thank you. So I imagine some people may have some feedback for you, Heidi, but before we get into that, I want to review the ground rule about raising the pen if you're triggered. That's one ground rule. And what that basically means is if you notice some kind of upset feeling or resistance, or, you know, no, I don't like hearing that, or you take something personally, let's say, that's that phrase, don't take anything personally. I always go, yeah, right. Part of the grist for the mill of this work is do take things personally, notice it, be compassionate toward it, and reveal it as a vulnerability, you know, as a vulnerable, possibly a fear thought that's coming up, like Heidi did. I want to do a warm up here where we use these sentence stems, and I wonder if there's anybody who does not have the sentence stems printed out. Because if you don't have them printed out, I'll just put the screen on. But if everyone has them printed out, then we can see each other bigger and all of each other if we have them printed. So is there anybody who does not have the sentence stems printed out? So what I have here, the first sentence stem is, so I'm gonna guide you in an exercise that will then just kind of naturally flow into a here and now, giving each other feedback, using these different sentence stems.
Susan, can I
throughout
interrupt?
the rest of the hour. Please, yes, Heidi.
Sorry, in the spirit of honesty, I do not have it printed out, but I have it up on my computer and I can see both screen.
Oh, fine. Okay.
Zoom.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that would be the same thing. So I could have worded it more inclusively. So thanks. So first one is right now I'm feeling, or right now I'm sensing. And so person one. So we'll kind of go around the circle and keep going. Person one will say that, and person two will say number two, and person three will say number three, and we'll only do that up to number 6. That's as far as we'll go with this exercise in a structured way off the sheet. After that, I'd like us to continue going around another round. Just instead of ping pong, really go in order for a while, just so everybody gets an equal turn. And so we really get practiced in these sentence stems, because these 22 statements are all statements you can bring into your daily life. Once you kind of have practiced them a little bit with a group like this, these are ways to bring the conversation into the present moment. I imagine you've all been in conversations where you just wish you could bring it more into the present moment and you don't know how. Well, here's how. Okay, so let's see if it works. So the order of my screen here is Darlene, Lynn, Robert, Heidi, Orv, and me. Okay, so this is going to be the order of sharing. It's as if we're sitting in a circle and Darlene speaks to number 1, Lynn speaks to number 2, and then once we've done 6, or once, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll be in this too. So once we've done 6, then we can randomize it. Then you can do 1 through 6, or you can do 22 or 15. So it might be a little, I'm going to say bumpy when it's your turn, because I really want you to experiment and try new things. And so if you have never tried to say to somebody, I hear that you feel or think this. And I saw that, like maybe somebody commented on something that I or one of you said. I hear that you, based on your comment, think this. I have a different reaction to that. May I tell you my reaction? A lot of us have never used that one, for example. That's on this list, but I hardly ever hear anybody use it. It's the skill of holding differences. So I think you got the idea. I won't belabor it. We'll just see what happens. Darlene, you're first, and then I'm after Orv. Okay, so I get in here too. So you're pretty well scripted for a while, but then it'll be looser, and then by the end of it, it'll be very loose, and we probably won't be looking at the sheet at all. That's the way this usually goes.
Ready? Okay. Right now, I'm feeling some butterflies in my stomach. I'm very excited about being back in the group, and also a little nervous because it's still new, and I don't know if you ever get comfortable with all this. Susan, you can tell us whether you do. But hopefully get more comfortable. So I'm excited about that and about growing and learning. I was just on a call with another girlfriend of mine. She's like, wow, you're learning so much because of the different stuff I'm involved in. So that feels good. Happy to be back with everybody. It's good to see your faces.
Right now, my attention is on Darlene's square. Her square is very bright. Her background is bright, and it's drawing my attention.
Right now, I'm noticing an ache in my gut and flow of energy in my lower legs.
Right now, I'm saying to myself, I don't know what I'm saying to myself. And right now, I'm saying to myself, rack your brain to say something.
What's coming up for me is laughter, listening to Heidi's share.
A moment ago, when Heidi was first checking in about, Heidi, your relationship to these guidelines and not knowing if you understood what we were doing here. So when I was paying attention to that, I was feeling warmth toward you and saying to myself, I think Heidi will get this. So now we're going around again, but random things. And of course, the easiest one is when I heard somebody say X, I felt or said to myself, why? Because then you know that one pretty well already, or hearing you say that, or right now I'm aware of. Those are, you don't have to look probably on this, but I would like you to look on that and try things too, okay? So we're staying in the order for one or two more rounds here, just for the warm up.
So my self-talk is, I'm not clear about what all is included in self-talk. So I wanted to ask that question because last session, Susan, I remember you saying my self-talk is, and it was kind of an opinion about, or a question of why the person was doing what they were doing. And I was like, I usually hear self-talk as, these are the things I'm saying to myself about myself. I don't know.
Let me clarify that right now, just to jump in and make a teaching point. To me, self-talk is equivalent to mind chatter. It's any words that are playing in my head. They could be things like, what did he mean by that? Or, oh, I really get it. They don't have to be the kind of self-talk where you're criticizing yourself or have an opinion about yourself. I know some people use it that way, but I use it very generically, okay?
Okay.
It's
Thank you.
equivalent to a thought, but sometimes there's a feeling in there.
Well, it makes sense to me because it's like you are talking to yourself, even if it was an opinion or a question about another person. So labeling it as self-talk was helpful to me to be like, oh yeah, I am talking to myself about this person. I'm not talking to them about them. It's me talking to myself. So thank you.
I'm noticing I'm getting a little annoyed with the self-talk in my brain, which is that Darlene has a need to explain. And that kind of thought pattern is, I'm feeling annoyed, and I'm noticing that.
Hearing that, I got confused about what that meant. Darlene has a need to explain. And there was a brief sense where I wanted to defend her, but I didn't know what was I would be defending. All right, that.
When I heard Susan say she felt warmth towards me, I felt a dam break inside and I felt tears coming. And I can't stop them now. And so and I'm trying not, and even me saying I can't stop it is making me aware that I always, the tendency is to stop, to try and block something when the emotions come.
Heidi, when you, am I on mute? No, okay.
I can hear you.
Heidi, when you just said and moved your face and said you're crying and that a dam inside you broke, I felt touched and also amazed, thinking like my self-talk is, wow, one sentence from Susan had such an impact on you, like just that.
Lynn, when I heard you say something about your self-talk, about, oh, Darlene has a need to explain, I said to myself, I wonder if Darlene has any concept of what Lynn is talking about.
Right now I am feeling a little singled out and nervous that I'm not doing something right. And also I feel safe, so it's okay. And I feel like I don't have to really know what your self-talk is about. And if I do need to know, then it's your responsibility to have a conversation with me. But I still want to do it right.
I am noticing a slightly discomforting, uncomfortable feeling in my gut that I will call fear. And the fear is that I've hurt someone in some way.
Oh, hearing you say that you have a fear and maybe that you've hurt somebody, I just feel tenderness along with my own tension, but I feel tenderness toward you, Lynn. Feel my own tenderness. And I have to let my dog out for 10 seconds out of the room.
My self-talk regarding Lynn's initial comment about Darlene was that she was being judgmental, but that she also knew she was being honest with her judgment.
So here's how self-talk looks. I'm going to make a teaching point here because most of the time what Heidi said, yeah, that's pretty close. I just want to make a real refinement. I mean, Heidi's was, she was being, so really that is self-talk. You know, that's, you know, the quote marks are around those words in your head. The idea of calling it self-talk. So I'm sort of using you a little bit to make a teaching point, Heidi, but you didn't do anything wrong. But the point is I witness myself. So it's like I said to myself, or my self-talk was, she's being judgmental, or Lynn's being judgmental. It's the way I would actually say it to myself, rather than the way I would say it to a group of people.
Okay, so say it as if
you were just giving us a window into the way it played in your internal dialogue.
Okay.
What that does is it makes it much more of a vulnerable self-disclosure. Can you sort of see how that is? Like I say, man, that didn't make sense to me, rather than, boy, she didn't make sense to me. It just has a slight self-disclosure piece, which is one value that I have. The other value is just by using the term self-talk, we're witnessing it. It's like when you're meditating and you witness your thoughts going across the screen of your mind. It's like, okay, now I'm having this thought, but you're witnessing it. So that's a little bit of a refinement on this tool. Now, people tell me that the device self-talk is a great way to sneak in judgmental thoughts. Okay, we do have judgmental thoughts. How do we work with them? We've got some in the space right here today. So anyway, I guess it's Orv's turn, but I just needed to make that teaching point, and then we're going to go back into it. So I think I'm done.
Thank you, Susan. Hearing you say what you said about self-talk being a revelation of what I say to myself, and hearing you say that my self-talk is, wow, that so clicked for me. And right a moment ago when I was having that thought, I felt this big release in my neck. So I don't know.
Or hearing you say, wow, that clicked for me, I feel appreciation and warmth toward you. So now we can go in any order. We're not going around that same order. And this is where it can get a little more chaotic, but let's try it, okay? And remember, we can raise the pens. And when we raise the pens, everyone, you know, I ring the little gong here and everyone is quiet until I ring it a second time.
Heidi, when you were talking about crying and I think you said you stop yourself from feeling your emotions and you noticed yourself doing it right then, I felt both very warm towards you and also almost respect. If that's not positive, that's a feeling, maybe that's a thought, but I felt both of those.
I have some feelings to clear. When Lynn, you just said your said your feelings about Heidi, I was feeling very distracted and was totally in my head. I don't even know what I was thinking right now. I've lost that, but that's what was going on for me. And I had this other Zoom screen on my phone, on my machine, that I had to start, and I felt a little torn uh, between putting all my attention here and just having that screen logged on. I was judging myself, telling myself, oh, why do you find yourself in these situations doing two things at once?
Hearing your clearing, I think you said you've had some feelings you need to clear. I felt a little protected. I was wanting to hear if Heidi had what was going on for Heidi, and what's the feeling? I was feeling disconnected. Yeah, I was feeling disconnected.
And well, in response to that, Lynn, when I heard you say those things, I felt warmth, and then I immediately felt confusion and nerves about what the right thing to say was. Am I allowed to say thank you? Am I allowed to say, I literally, the words left my mouth. I didn't know what to say, but thank you. That I appreciated hearing your words. And then my mind went to, what am I supposed to say? And then with regard to Orv, admitting that, am I understanding correctly that you are having two Zooms on right now? There was some judgment, but then bravery for being honest about it.
So make that into a sentence about Orv that went on in your mind, you know,
Okay.
as per my self-talk about you was. What's the judgment, for example? I'm gonna take a risk, see if, what was the judgment?
Orv really isn't being present right now. But kudos to him, because I struggle with the exact same temptation.
Mm-hmm. Hearing you say that, I feel great appreciation, Heidi.
And that I was somebody G-chatted me right at the beginning of this during the session, and I was writing them back. So
My self-talk is more true confessions.
and the guilt, I felt guilty.
Robert,
Uh,
when
the
I
self-talk
want
when,
to say something to you,
oh,
I have
sorry.
some feedback for you, and you got something to say too, huh? When you said you felt somewhat protective of Darlene, I felt a softness, warmth toward you.
Hearing that, I'm take a deep breath, I noticed. And I have some relief. I I need to say that I am carrying sort of fear and tension from my last interchange, particularly with Orv. And I I have a judgment that's getting in the way of you being present here. And I'm just really focused on my tension and contraction, and like something's going to happen that I need to avoid. And I might say I'm triggered, but I don't know. I'm just like, oh, I I can simultaneously relax in brief instances, and mostly I'm like tight and tense and afraid.
I'm going to do this bell, even though no one raised a pen, just so that we can all experience what we experience when Robert says, I feel tight, tense, and afraid. It's not working here. Just want to clarify that the invitation here, when I ring the bell, is for the person who has any feelings like that, like Robert mentioned, to be with, to voluntarily and consciously hang out with those feelings. That's it. That's what the invitation is. Others, just notice whatever else you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling, oh, geez, I was about to say something and now it's gone because Susan did this other thing. Just hang out with whatever else is in you. It's a being with practice. Robert, are you available for me to just offer an imagining, what I heard and what I imagined?
Definitely.
So I heard you say tight, tense, and afraid. And I imagine that you're afraid of some kind of pain happening in you because because, in quotes, or in relation to Orv?
My first sense is just to say yes, and I don't intellectually know, but yes, I'm definitely afraid of something, and it's probably feeling pain, maybe old pain, in relationship to what came up around my interaction with Orv. And I don't want to, I guess I will belabor it. I want to have compassion for myself here, and I mostly have should. You should have done it differently
Mhm.
than you did. And now I'm feeling a little bit of compassion for how I am right now, having said that I want to have compassion. Just I'm having some molecules of, oh, it's just accept, see how it can be to accept what is right now without forcing it. I appreciate you giving feedback to me, Susan.
And Robert, I wanna say one more thing in response to, you revealed that there's one voice in you that has this. You should have done it differently than you did. I felt sort of a pain in my heart and a thought, boy, this is pretty kind of normal, common kind of self-talk for people. And my sort of teaching oriented thought is the full sentence here is, you should have done it you're talking to myself, you should have done it differently than you did, and then you wouldn't have had to experience that pain.
Oh. Hearing that, I feel an aha. And I'm saying, damn, I wish that weren't true, but that feels right. Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate
And
you for how you're receiving that.
somewhere in there, I just felt this urge to cry when I heard you. Like, oh, maybe I was seen in a way. I felt seen and felt like I wanted to cry, but I couldn't really cry. I just feel without much tears.
Robert, something I'm eager and hesitant to reveal is that I felt some tension between us towards you, unexpressed at the end of until now. And as I say that, I also feel what I want is you to know that I'm available for connection.
Hearing that, more feeling to cry, an appreciation for that offering.
Felt very warm hearing that from Orv, the last bit.
Hearing what you said, or I feel, I'm not sure what it is. I feel some gratitude, like for modeling of male bonding, kind of. And it's like the opposite of the fear that I felt when I felt like you guys were tense and angry. um, I don't know. I guess it's some relief. There's some hope in there because I don't see this modeled a lot in my world, sadly. That makes me sad.
What I noticed that this is the second time Darlene has raised gender issues or male issues.
I appreciate you, Heidi, for saying what you said.
Susan, I can't find my pen, but I need to raise it.
Okay, just how about one finger? Go ahead, raise it, and we'll have a. My invitation is for you particularly, or to feel what's going on in there, sense it, and the rest of us will feel whatever is with us right now, having to do with this space. I'll ring it once and then once again, pretty close together. Or do you care to share anything?
Yes, Susan, as I feel more fully or feel with this reactive rush to respond to that I was feeling earlier when I raised my hand, it was in, I was reacting in response to Darlene saying that it's sad to see, she feels sad because that doesn't happen enough in her world. What I was telling myself was that men are violent. I'm, that's how I was hearing it, telling myself, and then feeling defensive, wanting to defend and say that that's not, it's not how I am. And I want to reveal that, where is my sheet? So I want to take some help. That I got triggered around the gender issue last time as well. And what I really want is equality and acceptance.
So when you say what I really want is equality and acceptance, what do you want from the people in this group today?
Yes, thank you. What I want from the people in this group is to I want you to see me for my feelings and as a person. And I would also like you to check in with me when you have a judgment about um, gender and see how I feel about that.
Or hearing you say included in that was something I want to be honored or seen for my feelings. At least that's what my paraphrase is. I had this self-talk like, wow, this guy is completely different than I judged him to be last session. He's anyway, that's the only self-talk I have. The rest is commentary about that self-talk. So it's like, oh, and I had a more soft, tender feeling toward you and maybe some more understanding you do differently as a feeling human.
My attention is on you, Darlene, and I want to let you know I care about you and how you're feeling right now. And I just feel tender toward you, imagining that maybe you have some kind of a thought that you did something wrong here, which I don't have that thought. I just want to reach out to you, connect. If you don't have to say anything, but if you want to, you always can, just like everybody else always can.
Just feeling a lot of self-judgment because I do have like I am dealing with having issues with gender, and I want to be able to be honest. And like I know that I'm struggling, and it's not about anyone in this room, and like I'm just really grateful to be in a room where I feel safe with the guys, and I'm not trying to say that men are violent at all. I'm just a couple years ago I had a relationship that ended really dramatically, and it just really kind of stripped me of all my defenses. And so now, like, this is how I am. Like, I can't pretend like I'm okay. And I just feel like this is my place for healing. So I do have self-judgment about where I am, but not about how I'm expressing it, if that makes sense.
Darlene, hearing you say what you said, um, what is what's coming up for me is wanting to offer reassurance, and I want you to know that it's okay to have all kinds of judgments about me. It really is. Yeah.
Darlene, when I heard you say you've been stripped of all your defenses, the first thing I felt was Yay! In my head.
I want to give you all, just based on Darlene's share about a piece of her personal story, I want to give you all a way to bring in a piece of your personal story while still using the Honesty Salon format. And that would go something like this. So it would be a little bit of a preamble. I want to give you a piece of my personal story right now. I want you to know this about me, because that's very present. Then when you say you had a relationship and it, you know, the way it left you and such, that whole thing is part of you wanting something from us, and it feels connected. So I have never taught that in this honesty salon, nor do I teach it in most honesty salons, but I'm offering that for what it's worth for you guys. Okay. Again, it's not, it's kind of hasn't been talked about, Darlene, but it's a tip. Because in this group, it's mostly, here's what's going on in the present moment. But in the present moment, we've got remembering that I've got unfinished business from last time. That's present, even though it's a past. Remembering that when I see two men being kind of sweet with each other, my word, it brings up thoughts about me and my gender issues. And I want you to know me. So that's the way it all is in this group. And I do want to just say to you, Darlene, the 2 times you mentioned, if it was 2 times, I'm not sure, but I think so, that you mentioned gender issues. I didn't have any blip on my screen that said, oh no, or, you know, any trigger. I got to say that my whole self-talk about this issue is how often it happens in groups that one person has a reaction to something you're saying, not the whole group, one person, and you make it like
Lost
you did
Susan.
something wrong.
Yeah, she froze. Right at the good part.
Unfreeze, Susan, unfreeze.
Who's frozen? Are we all frozen? Oh dear. Or if you're okay, right? No?
Me, who
Okay,
piece of yourself
here.
did that.
We're back.
We've been going without you, Susan.
Oh, I'm the only one that was gone? Okay, so if
Yeah.
if it ever happens that you're the only one that's gone, what I did was just wait. You know, something was going round and around and around, and just wait, and you'll be admitted again. The other thing to do if that happens is to change from change to an Ethernet cable if you have an Ethernet cable to hardwire to. That's all I know. Anybody else know anything about what do you do if you get dropped?
Re-enter, just
Just
join.
there's another way. Yes, Lynn. You could just go back to the link again that I sent in the email. So that's another way. Well, how'd the group go when I was gone? I don't need to hear that.
Well, we were hanging on your words. Like, what was, you didn't finish.
Yeah, well, I was masking his teaching point as, you know, some very long self-talk, but it really does occur to me this way. It's how often one person will have a problem with something you're saying in a group. I'll bet you've seen this happen, or it's happened to you. How often that happens. One person doesn't like something I said, and then I kind of project that onto the whole group. You know, they think that I'm inappropriate for bringing up gender issues. You know, I'll make up that rule in my head. So I want us to note if that ever happens to us. Okay, so yeah, we've got 10 more minutes before we close. And I do want to do, maybe it's time. Well, let me leave another couple minutes and then I'll do a debriefing round for us. So we all get to say something about how the day was for us.
So something I want you to know about me is that I have been working with annoyance and how I get annoyed. And I'm noticing today that there have been several times, I mentioned one earlier, but several times when I've gotten annoyed, I felt annoyed. And along with that was also compassion. And both compassion for myself and compassion for the other person. And I'm not being specific right now because I do have an example, one from today, Robert, when you were speaking earlier, and you were talking about your fear. I felt both compassion and annoyed, and the annoyance, I think, is a form of fear that I am not going to get enough attention in this group. And I think I said that last time, and it's that fear is present, has been present other times today too.
Lynn, hearing you say that, I feel elated because that's something that came up some little bit, that came up in our debrief last week. The possibility of you sharing in the group.
Well, something that you don't know about me, or I don't think you do, is that my relationship with my mother still seems to influence strongly my current relationships and current interactions. And mom was angry in my view, and so I have both a fear and a fear of anger. And when I get more intimately involved with somebody, I tend to project upon them my mother. I treat them as if they were my mother when they're not. And so particularly in my intimate relationship. But so now I'm telling myself, why are you saying this? Is this helpful? And yeah. I'm telling myself, this was an assignment, wasn't it? Don't I have a reason to say this? Or an invitation. Okay. I'm done on that.
So Robert, hearing you say that you wanted to share something, and then talking about your mother, I immediately felt a sense of warmth and in my heart, and definitely less annoyed. Not annoyed.
I notice I'm biting my lip, deciding whether to speak to you, Robert. So here I go. Robert, when you said something about anger, my mother, anger like you, and I was assuming you were speaking to Lynn about that, I felt resistance in my whole middle place in my body, like tightness.
Yeah, hearing that, I don't remember meaning to or even singling out Lynn in any way. Or at least that was not my intention.
My self-talk is I may be wrong there. I have to go look,
I'm
at,
smiling
I have to
because
go
I
look at the tape.
didn't hear the like you.
You didn't
Wait,
hear the
what?
like you. I heard a like you, but I might be wrong.
What did you just say, Susan?
I said I heard a like you, but I may be
Oh.
wrong.
Okay.
I heard the same thing as Susan. But that does not mean anything. Or maybe it does.
Yeah, I don't remember. I may have said that. And I don't have a feeling that I was meaning it focused on Lynn or anybody.
My thought was he's talking to his projection of Lynn.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
imagine I'm right about that. Okay, well, let's just take a deep breath and see what we're left with. And I want to do a quick debrief, which is like each person getting a chance. We're not going to, well, maybe we should go around just because of time.
Susan, I have one quick thing to share.
Yeah, go ahead and finish that off, Orv, and then I'll give you the order of just sharing something about the session tonight.
So I'm noticing I feel hesitant and uncomfortable when I talk about my mother. I think about having or wanting to talk about her when I was, how things were when I was little. Just wanted to say that. So it's back to.
So let's take the same order that we shared in before. The order is Darlene, Lynn, Rob, Heidi, Orv, and Susan. And the question is something about what had impact today? What are you left with today? What do you feel unfinished about? What are you grateful for? Just one statement about one of those things, if you could.
Well, first of all, I'm feeling resistance at going first, and I was hoping you would reverse the order or something. I'm feeling pretty, I don't know if the word is raw, but like my emotion is just right there. And I could just start crying any second. And I'm also feeling very curious about the guys sharing about their moms, because I had this question that popped up in my mind this week, which was, I was noticing how I still kind of crave attention from, from males, from men, like male attention. And I was like, like, I wonder if guys feel that towards women with their mommy issues or whatever they want to call it. So that curiosity is being tickled, I guess. And I am grateful to have been here. Thank you, everyone.
So a piece of unfinished business I have is when we just had that interaction with Robert, Susan, and Heidi and myself, and Susan said, "Me too," or something like her, I think it was, and I didn't hear that. And I thought that was really funny that two people can hear it so differently. And then when Heidi said, "I heard that too," I got this sinking feeling in my stomach that, oh, I think it was probably both, oh, I didn't hear it correctly, but oh, maybe that is what he meant. And there was some fear that, I'm not even sure about that, but there was some fear. And what I'm left with right now sharing this is lightness around it. And so I appreciate you all being here and the opportunity to be real with you.
I feel vulnerable and raw, maybe reticent at having shared about my young relationship with my mom. And I'm really left with Lynn's first response to it, which something, I don't remember the words now, but this just felt warm and I felt relaxed at your acknowledgement of it when you first responded. So that's what I'm left with.
I feel grateful for this session. I feel much better than at the end of last session. And I'm feeling very impatient because I scheduled a call for 5:15. I don't know why.
I'm feeling impacted the most by the following: the distinction between self-talk, revealing that I feel uncomfortable talking about how I felt around my mother as a little kid, and also feeling, I can't say incomplete, but maybe I can say that there's some unfinished, deeper work that is possible between by talking to you, Robert, and exploring what else is alive between us. Just want to share all that. Yeah, that's what I can remember. There's a few more things, but that's what I you can say now. And oh yeah, and I have this. Even though I have been doing my best, and I've been attending and participating only on this Zoom meeting, just seeing messages from people about having difficulty logging in has, I'm feeling this sort of guilt, um, that I did something wrong, uh, and yeah, it's interesting to see what's going on for me. Yeah, I'll pause here and yeah, back to you, Susan.
Okay, well, my final takeaway from today is an overall feeling of appreciation for each of you. And my thought about it is you're letting yourself be impacted by one another. And that's very moving to me. That's where growth happens, when you let yourself be impacted. It moves, it dislodges things, it stirs up things. So I appreciate you for being what I would call willing to be stirred up. And with that, we'll close for today, and we'll do the same debriefing buddies as before. We'll use these same sentence stems next time. If you have any questions or anything unfinished, why don't you put it in an email reply all, so that we're all part of each other's process. Okay, bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Welcome
Thank
back,
you.
Susan. Good night.
Yeah, that was helpful and structured.